Turning next to New Zealand, as we look at a scene in Christchurch of a growing memorial, and as that camera pans back, you get a sense of the flowers and the tributes and the messages of support and grief to the people of that community. The country's Prime Minister is making a new appeal to people in New Zealand following Friday's deadly attack on 2 mosques. Briar Stewart, part of our CBC News team, covering things for us, and she is in fact at that very memorial. And what a sight that must be, Briar. I've not seen that before, so I know we're going to talk about the Prime Minister, but can you also just set that scene for us today?
I will, Heather, and I think perhaps the best way to do that is for me to step aside so you can actually see it for yourself. This is one of several memorials that are around this park, near the Al Noor Mosque and also near the other mosque, the Linwood Mosque in Christchurch. And each day that we've been here, they just keep growing. More and more people turn up with flowers. They come with cards of sympathy, with flags and messages, and it really is quite something to see. Very, very moving and emotional for people. Now, as we mentioned, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern, she's going to be visiting Christchurch on Wednesday. And while she's here, she's going to be speaking with first responders. And her actions in the wake of the shooting has been praised both here at home and internationally. And she's had a lot to say. She's talked about how the country needs to take swift action on gun control. She's talked about the need for people in New Zealand to come together. But she's also been very clear that there's one thing she's not going to mention, and that's she's not going to talk about the shooter and call him by name. She says the reason for that is that this is somebody who wanted the notoriety, and she doesn't want to publicize him and give him that publicity that he wanted. Take a listen.
He is an extremist, but he will, when I speak, be nameless. And to others I implore you, speak the names of those who were lost, rather than the name of the man who took them. He may have sought notoriety, but we in New Zealand will give him nothing, not even his name.
So very strong words from her there, and she's encouraging others not to use his name. I should also say that the Prime Minister has launched an inquiry, and this inquiry will be looking at what the security services, what the police, what custom officials knew before the shooting. Basically, they're going to be looking at how they were tracking individuals and whether there were any red flags that they missed.
Briar, listening to the Prime Minister, you have been as well speaking to some of the families of the victims, and certainly they have been appealing for authorities to return the bodies of their loved ones as quickly as possible. Is that happening?
It's certainly not happening at the speed that the families wish it was happening. The police have confirmed that 6 bodies have so far been returned, and the reason police say that it's taking so long is that it's a very complex identification process. And the hope was to have all the bodies returned by Wednesday, but there is 50 victims, only 6 have been returned, so it's not clear whether they're going to make that timeline. And there is a lot of frustration for some of the families because in the Islamic tradition, there's a real urgency to get the dead buried right away, and you have people that are grieving, they're in mourning, and they really want to be able to carry on with the funerals.
Briar, thank you very much. Our first conversation of a number to come today, and Briar keeping right on top of all of the developments for us there in Christchurch.